Chinese president, who was majorly absent from the main stage of diplomacy during China's COVID-19 isolation, is now making diplomatic inroads around the world. Experts call it a fundamental reset in President Xi's foreign and economic policies. From an economic perspective, the main goal is to restore robust growth to China's slowing economy. While from a diplomatic perspective, China's main aim is to improve relations with countries around the world after a period of isolation. The focus is also on the ties with Europe, which have been badly damaged by China's support for Russia in the ongoing war in Ukraine. In the past few months, China has taken a slew of diplomatic initiatives. Beijing brokered talks between Saudi Arabia and Iran in March this year, after which the two countries agreed to restore ties. The Chinese president then visited Moscow and met with the Russian President Vladimir Putin during his three-day state visit to Russia. President Xi asserted China's long-standing friendship with Russia. Beijing also dialed up the foreign minister of Ukraine to propose their peace initiative. Meanwhile, China has also tried to establish its ties with Singapore, Honduras and Malaysia. Now, it has also met representatives of countries from Africa, Pakistan and recently even hosted the foreign minister of traditional rival Japan. In the latest, French President Emmanuel Macron will be visiting Beijing. A delegation of European Union will also be accompanying Macron. Experts say that France hopes to dissuade the Chinese leader from getting any cozier with the Russian president. With the Chinese diplomacy certainly shifting its tone and becoming a peacemaker in many parts of the world, its foreign policy has also clearly marked its rivals. On their radar are the United States and, of course, India. In the latest, it has renamed 11 places in Arunachal Pradesh and has called it Southern Tibet in a bid to emphasize its claims over India's Arunachal Pradesh. India has meanwhile dismissed China's move to rename places in Arunachal and has asserted that the state has always been and always will be an integral part of India, and assigning invented names will not change that. As China continues to grow its footprint around the world, it's very clear that it harbors ambitions of expansionism, something that at least its immediate neighbors will be wary of. Well, for more on this, we are now joined by Greg Swenson, international affairs expert and a China analyst as well, who joins us live from London. Greg, thanks very much for talking to us this evening. Now, it's pretty clear that China has always harbored motives of expansionism, but what's different now for President Xi Jinping in his third term?
Well, clearly he's had some diplomatic wins recently, and I think he's trying to take advantage of the realignment and some of the mistakes that the U.S. administration has made, and he's done a good job of taking care of that. I mean, I think with President Biden, immediately, even before his election, but surely after he took office, really doing long-term damage to the relationship with Saudi Arabia, and also having some missteps with the UK and more recently last week with Israel. I think Xi is doing a good job of taking advantage of that vacuum that's been created by the Biden administration, especially around energy policy, which has really made the U.S. weaker in terms of oil production. So it was a chance for Xi to step in and buy oil from the Russians, as well as, arranging the resumption of diplomatic relations between Iran and the Saudis. So it was a good move on his part.
Absolutely. And of course, adding to that, aligning itself, as you said, to traditional partners of the United States, for example, Macron is in China, reaching out also to the Saudis. This is a message clearly to America and a counter to its traditional dominance in these regions.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I'm not sure it will work. I mean, you do have the CPTPP that the United Kingdom just joined in the last few days. I think that was a great move for the UK. It's probably something the US should follow, and it's a shame if they don't. And then you have the pushback against Chinese tech companies. They're coming under really increasing scrutiny globally. Especially with TikTok, they're trying to distance themselves from the ownership by ByteDance, but I don't think they're doing that very well. And then you have, with the Republican House in the U.S., you have the House Committee on China or more formally, the Select Committee on the Strategic Competition between the U.S. and the CCP, run by a great up-and-coming congressman named Mike Gallagher. So you're seeing some pushback. I don't know if this will be as easy as it was for Xi brokering the Saudi and Iran deal 2 weeks ago. But, I think there would be some pushback, and surely he's taking advantage of the void that's created by some missteps in the Biden administration.
Right, absolutely. Greg Swenson, thanks very much indeed for joining us with the very latest there. And of course, China continues its expansionism, or attempts of it at least, in the Asia-Pacific region as well. Thanks for that.